So for my game, I chose to do hangman, and the state of the game will be represented in two separate strings. First, to keep track of the hangman figure, a string is used in a function called print caricature that's hard-coded to print the figure based on the number of incorrect guesses passed to the function. If the hangman is fully printed, it means that the player has lost. Next, another string is used to keep track of the guess line. This string uses underscores to track characters that need to be guessed, and as long as there are underscores in this string, it means that the player has not won the game. Whenever the player has to take a guess, if the guess is correct, then the corresponding underscores are replaced by the guessed character. So essentially, if the guess line has no underscores, the player won, and if the hangman figure is fully printed, the player has lost. And so this is the hangman figure. It's going to be like a string like that. And as the player guesses, if they get it all wrong, it's going to be like that, and they have failed at that point. And this is the underscore that it is referring to. My game uses 4 helper functions and 3 main functions. First, I'll use the array of array words function to get the words sorted by difficulty and split into a list of characters. Next, the object with sorted words get passed to the start game function so that the user can determine the difficulty and pick a random word based on the user input with pick random word helper function and pass that word to the hangman function. These functions are separated to lower complexity and separate the different parts of logic so that debugging gets easier. Finally, the hangman function uses 3 helper functions. The print caricature is separate so it can be called whenever needed. The check letter in word and return guess line functions were separated to make debugging simpler, make the hangman function far less complex, and also so that they can be easily called whenever needed. Overall, functions were split up to make decoding and testing easier, as well as easing visual complexity, and so that they could be called whenever needed without having to copy the code. Let's look at the hangman function. First, this function takes a list of strings which represents the randomly picked word the player is supposed to guess. The function then sets some variables and records the length of the word by getting the length of the list. Also, we set variables char string and pref string, which represent the state of the guess line, with an underscore in place for every character in the random word. Once these are set, the function prints welcome to hangman and calls the print caricature function with 0 incorrect guesses to print the initial figure. Now we get into the loop. As long as the word hasn't been guessed and the incorrect guesses are less than 7, the loop prints the char string variable and prompts the user to input a character. If the inputted character is in the guessed letters list, or if more than one character is inputted at once, a line is printed asking the user to retry. If not, the number of guesses is increased, the character is appended to the guessed letters list, and the check letter in word helper is used to see if the character is correct. If the result has length 0, it means that the character isn't in the word, so incorrect guesses is increased by 1. The hangman figure is printed for the corresponding number of incorrect guesses. A line is printed telling the user how many guesses they have left. And finally, it's checked to see if the incorrect guesses have reached 7. And if they did, they are told that they failed and the loop stops running. If the result length isn't 0, the result is passed to return guess line helper along with the pref string and sets the return string to char string, so the underscores get filled in with the guessed character. If there are no underscores left in char string, it means that all characters have been guessed and variable guessed is set to true, so the loop stops running and the user is informed that they won the game. So now let's go ahead and run the game. When I press on run, it sorts the list and is waiting for me to pick a difficulty. And then when I do so, it picks a word based on the difficulty, a random word. And that random word has been passed to this hangman function. So let's start guessing. I'm going to press A, didn't work, S, L, B, I. Okay, so the word was actually bliss. I got it. I had 1 incorrect guess and I had 6 guesses left. The state of the game is represented by this string that updates as well as this hangman figure. But since I got all of the underscores to be filled before the hangman was filled, I won the game. As you can see, it says that here.